You've got to do that background research. Dig into the market and understand the country you're going to.
Welcome back to another episode of Selling Strategies. Now, today I've got with me Laurie Boyer from Easypost. And today we're going to be covering all things international expansion. So we're moving away from the marketplace focus for today, just to look at the challenges, the opportunities, and the steps that e-commerce businesses need to take to efficiently and successfully access these international markets. So best place to start, Laurie, is just if you could give us a quick introduction about who you are, your role at Easypost, and what Easypost does.
You bet. Karen, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. My name is Laurie Boyer, as Karen said, and my official title is the Senior Manager over Marketing Communications at Easypost. But really what that means is that I spend all of my time pretty much researching, talking with people, understanding all the exact kind of challenges that people in the logistics, e-commerce space really face, and finding solutions to it. Easypost, if you are unfamiliar with us, we are a company that has an amazing shipping API suite. We really just help companies be able to ship quickly, efficiently, find the best rates, find the best carriers. So you would be able to access, hundreds of carriers just within us and pick the right carriers, pick the right locations, be able to print off your labels, track it all, and just kind of simplify some of those complexities around shipping.
I just want to start by asking just about, what are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing amongst your own customers when it comes to getting set up internationally? Because, there's a lot to think about. I'm assuming it's quite overwhelming. So yeah. What are the common pain points?
So I'm going to say the number one challenge is actually fear. And it's fear that sometimes holds us back and paralyzes us from making moves or expanding more because we're afraid of the problems that come with international shipping. Some of the things we're scared of, regulations. When Uber first tried to expand into the UK, they faced a whole bunch of regulatory challenges that they were unaware were going to be an issue. They hadn't done their research and they were not quite prepared, and they got hit with a ton of fines and a bunch of problems. So the regulations are a challenge. The logistics. Okay, anybody who knows the Target moving into Canada story, it's like the ultimate story of disaster moving internationally. But they had huge issues with inventory challenges. Their warehouses, they were getting too full, and then they couldn't move anything out. Just physical challenge of getting your goods and moving them back and forth is a huge challenge. Cultural issues. Walmart, when they went into Germany, this is one of my favorite stories. Walmart is famous, at least here in the US, for having greeters. So when you walk into the store, there's a little greeter that says, "Welcome to Walmart." And that's their whole job. Well, in Germany, they found that to be extremely disturbing and backfired on them. And so they had not realized that culturally, that was just something that was way too weird and actually put people off. Payment, currency kind of issues is always a concern for people. Just the different currency exchange rates and whatnot. When Netflix went into Argentina and Brazil, they had huge problems with trying to get prices that were fair. They were ending up overcharging for a lot of their services because of currency exchange issues. So, but those are the big ones, I would say, that people are really scared. They're scared that they're going to mess it up, and they're scared that they're going to lose a ton of money. And so they do nothing.
Looking at the bigger picture, international e-commerce in 2024, it's where the opportunity is for e-commerce retailers. The research shows that cross-border sales are expected to grow twice as much as domestic this year. So when do you know it's right for your business?
There's going to be some signals that it's kind of time for you to go global, to go international. You may be getting requests. So that's one of the first things, is just kind of have your ear open. Are you seeing customers requesting things internationally? Are your customer support agents getting requests? Are you seeing things online? Are people reaching out to you by social media? In a lot of places, you may be getting a little too oversaturated. You've got a lot of competition and you've really oversaturated your market. But maybe in the country next door or country around the world, they're not oversaturated. So if you're starting to see some saturation, some slowdown, I would say if you are still killing it domestically, like you are grow, maybe you're fine just sticking where you're at. But if it's starting to slow, you're no longer seeing exponential growth, you're starting to get a little bit stuck, that's a big sign that maybe it's time to look internationally. And I would also say, what is your competition doing? Sometimes simply to stay with the competition. Now, I'm not a big advocate for, don't do it if your competition's not doing it, because we all need to have the front runners as well. We've got to have those of us who are plowing forward and pioneering. So don't let that stop you if your competition's not international. But if they are, that's definitely a signal.
Okay. And then, so let's just walk through a bit of an example, say. So let's say you've made the decision to go international. You're already well set up domestically in the US, and you're looking over at the European market, just like I want a bit of that, maybe over at China, 1.2, 1.3 billion. So let's just walk through some of those first steps that you'd want to be taking. Where do I start?
As we talked about, Karen, it's already really complex in our industry. So pick a country first that you think is going to be the right fit for you. You've got to do that background research. Dig into the market and understand the country you're going to. Look at your customers. You could do surveys. Go onto your social media. Target some surveys on social media to people in that country. Find out what their preferences are. Start to kind of get an idea and an understanding of your customer base. Don't assume that your customer base is going to have the same preferences, the same understanding, competitive analysis, look into regulations. Just basically do the full kind of market research and trying to understand everything you can about that market. Then my next step is to build a network. Okay, so this to me is critical. You have a network of people already out there, whatever it's your vendors, whether it's partners you're working with, who can give you guidance and have more information than you do. I also love, if you can, to get some sort of local network built in that country where you're going, so that you can kind of get those sort of boots on the ground feel, the understanding of, okay, this is something you should be aware of, that in my country, we totally do not do this, or nobody's going to buy that at this time of year, or whatever it is. So if you can build a good network of people as a support, then everything else is going to be easier. And then I would start looking into all the kind of technical, legal framework, the go-to-market strategy, build it all up just as you would when you very first started the company or when you were first launching domestically. Look into it that way, and you should be good to go.
Well, just while on that, say, building out that legal side, the compliance, looking into the tax, the localization, do you need to do that internally? Is that like an in-house function that you've got to build out? Or, what's your recommendation there?
It's going to depend somewhat on the size of your company. Obviously, the smaller you are, the less likely you are going to be able to dedicate a person full-time to being able to simply look at the international piece. But I would definitely say during the launch, even if you are small, you get somebody who's focused all the time on trying to run through all this checklist. So even if you dedicate a person for, say, a 6-month period, you can also, if you've got cross divisions, so this is for any kind of change management, you need to look at your people, your processes, and your technology. So if you can get kind of a stakeholder in different divisions in your company who maybe is just assigned to be helping oversee this international expansion effort. So, if you have someone with your warehousing or overseeing inventory, if you've got somebody who helps you understand your marketing and sales and all of those work together, absolutely, you're going to want that internal group, as well as then developing those contacts that you can get externally.
I want to talk shipping, because this is a huge headache for consumers and retailers alike. High costs, delays, incorrect items, leaving the warehouses, or damaged items. And then obviously a lot of the supply chain disruptions that are happening globally at the moment, particularly with the Baltimore Bridge out in the States there. So when you break it down, it's a headache on 3 fronts: speed, intelligence, and cost. So I just want to walk through each of these in turn, like starting with the speed. What can e-commerce businesses do to improve the speed of their deliveries? Or really even what can they be doing to just kind of guarantee that reliability?
Obviously, getting your goods to the new location. Speed is going to be all about where originally your goods are located. So that's something you're going to want to look into. Do you need a local distribution center? Do you want to have your goods placed within the new country? So you're going to want to look at where you're locating your goods. It could be that you want to use a 3PL service or something else who are already doing all of those shipping and kind of help optimize that for you. But if you are running your own warehouses, it's always important to get your goods as close as you can to that location. But you absolutely do not have to have a warehouse in the other country where you are shipping. Easypost has one of our carriers has a service for kind of small to medium business that all you do is drop it off at your local post office, and then it gets transferred over to that carrier and they deal with all of the international shipping for you. So there are a lot of options when it comes to carriers. So I would say what you're going to need, though, in today's day and age is technology. The good news, we talk about AI all the time. I love AI. I am a nerd to the max on stuff like AI, but sometimes we don't get it used actually very well. But this is a use case that really, really does play into AI well. So in today's day and age with technology, you can review all of the carriers. You can see kind of the reliability rates for different locations. At Easypost, and other companies have this. I'm not just saying that you need to come to Easypost, but at Easypost, there are tools. So when you log in, you can actually kind of do rate comparisons, see what are your most expensive options compared to the timing. So you would be able to know, like, okay, with 98% certainty, 98% of the time, they get it there within 3 days, or 68% of the time there. And then you're like, okay, maybe I'll stay away from that. So definitely take advantage of technology when you are trying to optimize shipping.
Same goes when it comes to looking for cheaper rates as well. I suppose it's again like technology is the facilitator there by just giving you like a broad view of whatever, this carrier A is actually more expensive. Let's go with, carrier G.
It's not just technology doing it for you. Technology drives good decision making. I like to say that good information leads to good decision making. And that's really what you need, is simply to be able to look at your technology and say, okay, if I use carrier B, I can get there faster. If I use carrier F, it will be cheaper. And you then can decide which is more important for my customer base and maybe for that specific instance, right? Which is more important in this scenario? And maybe it's that you're going to pay more, but you want it there the next day, or you want it there with the reliability that you're going to get.
Okay, so technology, one of the key pieces really in I suppose just streamlining your operation. So what are some of the other things that you can be doing to just drive that operational efficiency?
Like I mentioned earlier, people, processes, and technology. All three are critical elements that if you do not, it's the three-legged stool. If one of the legs is broken or not getting enough attention, you're going to run into trouble. So your processes, you're going to want to build international processes. What are you setting up that make sure that you're going to, things are going to run as smoothly as possible? And people, the reason people are a critical element is because they're really going to give you those eyes and understanding of where processes and technology might be failing you. So you need to be continually looking to your people to say, hey, what challenges are we having, say, with this technology? Maybe they know it's not integrating well with the system that you're working with. So always reviewing your people, your processes, and your technology around any initiative you're creating. And when all three of those are solid and working well, it's a really cool. It's a really great experience.
Yeah, three fundamental pillars for any business really. So yeah, totally agree.
Definitely when you're going internationally, you're going to want all three of those elements.
I mean, you mentioned this earlier, so I do, like your network and leaning into that, or your ecosystem. It's something for as long as I've been doing this series, it's something that keeps coming up, this idea that, you're not alone. And especially when you're growing, especially when you're looking to go international, it's so important that you see that you're not alone and doing it by yourself. Because once you reach a certain size, a certain revenue threshold, then that's when you need to start thinking, take a step back and start thinking differently about your setup. More SKUs is going to mean more listings, potentially more marketplaces, more complexity, more warehouses. And like you mentioned earlier, the problems will scale with you if you don't sort them out early on. So what's your take on that? And just what's your opinion on this kind of idea of the ecosystem?
Ecosystem is critical. We don't live in a silo and we can't work in a silo. And building up a network, that ecosystem, I love that term that you use, of people is killer when it comes to success. What's interesting is I find that within shipping and logistics specifically, it is very relationship based. So much more than I've seen in some other industries. There are a few recommendations if you're like, I don't know anybody. And so first, just reach out. Again, you're going to be using all kinds of tools. So if you've got technology tools, maybe you reach out to your WMS, maybe you reach out to whoever it is and say, hey, I'm wanting some advice on this. Even if they can't give you advice, there's a great chance that they could point you to somebody who could give you advice. I also highly recommend that you try to attend some shows, at trade shows and events. You can really connect with people. I mean, they are set up just to be such big networking events. But I've made a ton of really great contacts and people who can point me in the right direction when I don't know where to go and don't know what to do. So absolutely rely on networking events, reach out to people in that area, even competition. I know that can sound a little scary, but we can work together a lot of the times in a way that we create partnerships and can build off of each other. So you've got to build the ecosystem. For all my wonderful introverts out there, you can do it. It's scary, I know, but it is one of those critical elements, like it or not. And it can really make a giant difference in your success.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, last question, Laurie. So just want to get 3 pieces of advice from you, just for e-commerce retailers who are thinking about taking that first step and going international this year.
Okay. Number 1, in the United States, we have a group called the Boy Scouts of America. And their motto is be prepared. Be prepared. So my number 1 advice is going to be to do that research and continually research. Number 2, build on that ecosystem. Always be refreshing your ecosystem. Even if you've got a great support group right now and a great network, there may be more opportunities that you're missing. And then 3, I would just say, be flexible, be ready for whatever may come. And Karen, I'm throwing a 4th one in. Don't be mad. 4, don't let fear stop you. Fear stops us way too often. You remember all those mistakes that we talked about earlier made by big companies going internationally? They still went international. They still went global. They don't let that stop them. All of those are learning opportunities, and don't let fear stop you from taking that next step.
Great.
Don't be mad I took 4.
No, that's great. Great inspiration on the last point there. So, Laurie, thanks for coming on. That was super informative and valuable. I hope everyone watching got as much value as I did.
Oh, thanks so much, Karen. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to talk to you. I'm on LinkedIn. You can connect with me there. And it was great being here today. I love international shipping. Fun topic and excited to be here.